Okay, so let us continue. 60 years brings you to the entrance of the cold, melancholy valleys. Resigned to inexorable destiny, you stand on the threshold of old age. You begin preparations for the long journey which must inevitably be undertaken. 70 years wrinkled and old, endowed with numerous infirmities, you sit in the waiting room for the last journey, considering it miraculous that you are still alive. In the 80th year, if the 80th year is exceeded, the fact is mentioned that an amazing phenomenon, and you are treated with the respect due to antiquities. Is this parallel correct? Is there any connection between age and age value? Let it be emphatically stated that the tyranny of the birth certificate can be abolished. The fact that a year represents one complete revolution of the earth around the sun has nothing in common with the evolution of the human being. To be so many years old means simply that the circling seasons have been observed so many times, and nothing more, age being just a number. It implies no consideration of the intellectual or physical state. The person who has seen the entire astronomical phenomenon 40 times may be much younger in the real meaning of the word than one who has seen it but 30 times. The vibratory activity, so a 30-year-old could be older than that 40-year-old, even though the 40-year-old has been here longer, because it's in here where, it's as consciousness where we grow. Growth as a consciousness, growth as a mind, a soul, a being, because the body is only the vessel of which we are all inhabiting. This temple that has been given to us to manifest what we want to manifest and create on the physical plane. The vibratory activities of the planetary universe are governed by a law of periodicity. Everything that lives has periods of birth, growth, and fruitage. These periods are governed by the septuple laws. And I just currently read about these in the Master Key System by Charles F. Haanel. And the septuple laws are known as the laws of sevens, and it goes in increments of years. And we're going to go over that right now. The law of sevens governs the days of the week, the phases of the moon, the harmonies of light, sound, heat, electricity, magnetism, atomic structure. It governs the life of individuals and of nations, and it dominates the activities of the commercial world. We can apply the same law to our own lives, and therefore come into an understanding of many experiences, which would otherwise appear inexplicable. Life is growth, and growth is change. Each 7-year period takes us into a new cycle. The first 7 years is a period of infancy. The next 7 is a period of childhood, representing the beginning of individual responsibility. The next 7 represents the period of adolescence. The 4th period marks the attainment of full growth. And I currently just started my 4th period. The 5th period is the constructive period, when men acquire property, possessions, a home, and family. The next, from 35 to 42, is a period of reactions and changes, and this in turn is followed by a period of reconstruction, adjustment, and recuperation, so as to be ready for a new cycle of 7s beginning with the 50th year. The law of periodicity governs cycles of every description. There are cycles of short periods and cycles of long periods. There are periods when the emotions gain the ascendancy and the whole world is absorbed in religious thought. And there are other periods when science and learning take the ascendancy and the patent office is flooded with new inventions. There are other periods when vice and crime rule with the high hand, periods of strikes and hard times. Excuse me, sorry. Those hiccups. Yeah, I know, huh? It's only going to make them go away for a quick second, then they're going to come back a little bit later. Periods of strikes and hard times. Times of turmoil, confusion, and disaster. And there are periods or reform. What is the cause of these cycles? Are they arbitrary? Have they no basis or foundation in nature, recurring with almost the regularity of clockwork and without any incentive whatever? Or are they perhaps due to universal laws, and caused by the revolution of the planets in their orbits, having their origin in some principle in nature which man may learn, and thus ultimately be able to predict with certainty the reoccurrence of the same phenomena? The revolution of the several planets. I know I've already said this many times. 7 planets, 7 chakras, 7 endocrine glands, 7 colors of the rainbow that we are able to see, 7 major tones of sound that we are able to hear, 7 periods of growth that we all go through, 7, 7, 7. You know, it's the law of 7, it's the lucky number. The revolution of the several planets upon their axis constitutes the largest amount of matter in motion with which we are familiar, and consequently is responsible for the largest amount of energy. Now remember how we were just reading in the few chapters before that the reason why these planets have so much influence on us is simply because their mass and their velocity within the orbit of the solar system. The movement of the planets in their various orbits around the sun brings the largest amount of ether under strain, and thereby brings into existence the largest amounts of potential energy with which we are familiar. All of the activities of the material universe are therefore contingent upon the movements of these several planets. Let us note the results of these movements. The first result to be noted is the differentiation of the rays of the sun into 7 primary colors: orange, green, violet, yellow, red, indigo, and blue. These 7 colors have their correspondences in the 7 notes of the musical scale. The 7 notes of the musical scale, the 7 major sound vibrations within the scale. There was a word for it. I'm trying to remember the solfeggio. Solfeggio, I believe that's what it's called. The solfeggio scale, the 7 main sounds. We then find that the vibrations of each planet is responsible for the condensation or crystallizations of electrons into matter. Electrons being the most basic foundation of matter. And so we have gold, silver, mercury, copper, iron, tin, and lead. And remember where we were going over the chart on which each one of these represent. Silver being represented by, I believe it was the moon, and then gold being a representation of the sun. By pursuing our other inquiries still further, we find that these vibrations are distributed to all parts of our body through the sympathetic nervous system, and that there are 7 plexus along the spine for this purpose, your 7 chakras, the 7 gates within the body. We also find that there are 7 functions of our body which are controlled: the heart, brain, lungs, reins, gall, liver, and spleen. And finally, we find that these vibrations manifest on a still higher plane as spirit, soul, intellect, love, energy, judgment, and memory. Spirit, soul, intellect, love, energy, judgment, and memory. 777. The angle between 2 planets at some time and place in their established orders, and their angular relation to the Earth, causes an influence which is received by those individuals who are receptive or keyed to those particular vibrations. They're keyed to those particular vibrations. They receive those vibrations because they are in tuned. They think on those lines and characteristics of which the planets are responding to, and they're forming the circuit within their own their brain, their antenna, and they're reaching out and attracting those things into their life, bringing more and more thoughts along those lines and characters of the thought you were thinking before. By what? The principle of attraction. Under a favorable influence, we find the body relaxed, comfortable, and at ease. This state of being reacts favorably upon the mental condition, and we find mental poise. Poise means calmness, tendency to pleasure, amusement, reaction, happiness, kindness, and love. If the influence is unfavorable, the body will be tense, irritable, with corresponding mental depression, fear, anger, malice, violence, etc., according to the nature of the planets involved. When Saturn contracts the tissue and squeezes out dead elements from the organs, Jupiter does the reverse by expanding and absorbing new elements for the maintenance of growth and development. Oh, wow. He was saying that these seven plexus, these seven major nerve ganglia are located within your sympathetic nervous system, the nervous system that is in the nervous system that is under the control of the subconscious mind. Remember when we learned about the subconscious mind, that the subconscious mind is the same as the universal mind, the universal intelligence. And these seven planets are releasing their seven characteristics, and it's being picked up by your seven major nerve ganglia within the mind of the universal mind, your subconscious mind, the mind that is making your heart pump, the mind that is making the blood flow through your veins, the mind that is responsible for the growth of your nails, of your hair, the replacement of your skin, the mind that is responsible for the rejuvenation of each and every single one of these cells. And we just gone over mental chemistry the other day, that the conscious part of our mind, our brain and cerebral spinal portion of our mind, is an extension of the sympathetic nervous system. So if that being true, then that is because the conscious portion of the mind was an extension of the sympathetic subconscious portion of the mind. And we're self-conscious of ourselves. We have the ability of choice. That is how we are created in its image. That is how we have been given dominion, because of the conscious portion of our mind, because of this outflow, this extension of the conscious mind, due to or in connection with the sympathetic mind, the system of nerves under the control of the subconscious mind. Because the anatomy of the spirit, the seven chakras, are all along the nerves of the subconscious, the mind of the universe that has been instilled within you, giving you life. Wow. When Saturn contracts the tissues and squeezes out dead elements from the organs, Jupiter does the reverse by expanding and absorbing new elements for the maintenance of growth and development. The effects of this Jupiterian process on the mind is to make the feelings jovial. Quote, jovial. Feelings jovial. Jovial, from the way it's used in the sentence, sounds like it would be, happy, to be jovial, to be... What I want for myself, I want for all. It was one of my affirmation manifestations that just came up right now. Because what we get for ourselves, we get for all, right? Because we're here to learn, and we are the lights of the world. It's our nature, to create the things that we want to create. So jovial. Jovial, I'm sorry. Jovial. Jovial means endowed with or characterized by a hearty, joyous humor or spirit of good fellowship. Happiness. Joy. The effect of this Jupiterian process on the mind is what makes the feelings jovial, happy, optimistic, comfortable, carefree, generous, and compassionate, able to look out and beyond self to the needs and happiness of others, with the result that the word and deed brings condemnation, or commendation, not condemnation. The word and dead, with the result that the word and deed, come on, Corey, the word and deed bring commendation and support from others. What is done will produce fortunate results, because what we want for ourselves, we want for all. When Saturn is benignly, benigly, benignly, that's a interesting. Benignly, having a kind disposition, gracious or benign. Gracious, a benign king, a kindly king. Benign. Benignly. Okay, there we go.